All right, guys. So this is our first ever Wolfpack Family Adventures podcast.
Yay.
About 3 years ago, we sat down and we did something similar to a podcast, but it wasn't really a podcast. It was just us talking about events of life. It was actually the first day back at school right after
COVID.
After the COVID shutdowns and everything. And it was Kalaya's very first day ever at school. She was starting kindergarten then, right?
Yep. Yeah, I love that vlog.
Yeah, it was a fun vlog. It was funny because you guys were
so little.
Yeah, it seems so little.
But I was terrified.
You were
my first day of school.
What do you mean?
Because I've never been there before.
So we are taking this as an opportunity. If you've been following us along, most of you guys know that we have adventured into RV life. So that's what we're in right now. We're in our coach, and we are sitting down doing our very first podcast as a family. And one of the biggest reasons that we're doing this is we want to share, number one, RV life. We want to share our adventures. We want to share all these things, but it has been very difficult to try to put together like a vlog. It's hard to vlog while we're out in that sense of vlog, because we want to enjoy our family. We chose to do this life because we want to adventure out. We want to go do things as a family and have those experiences as a family. And so when we're just sitting there with a camera in our face and we're thinking of the next thing, okay, how am I going to, continue this vlog on or carry this on? I don't want to have to think about that. But in our adventures, we have got plenty of footage to share. So what we're doing is we're sitting down and we are talking about RV life as a family, the pros and cons of it, things that we've learned and all of that stuff. And then we're also sharing some of our adventures and our trips and things that we get to do together. Again, there's pros and cons to this life. There's many things that we have learned that we love, many things that we have learned that we dislike, or that we maybe have to,
challenging.
Yeah, that we have to adjust and we have to pivot around. One of those things is this time of year. I know we're wearing hoodies in here right now, but that's because we woke up and it was actually 70 degrees here in Dallas, Texas.
Yeah.
Finally.
Pretty rare.
But yesterday it was 110. So in a coach,
insane.
if you don't know, in an RV, you really only get to about 20 degrees lower inside the coach than it is outside. So if it's 110 degrees, we got to about 90 degrees in here yesterday. It was actually like 87 degrees. Which we have fans blowing. We made it work.
We have like Reflectix on every window, so we've got a dehumidifier.
We've done all the things.
Yeah.
We've done our best, and we have survived these. Actually, this past month it has been pretty miserable
And brutal.
Elijah and Daddy have been, and Merlin have been here.
Also, if you start RV life, on the summer, make sure you're prepared to have like 5 fans blowing and some dehumidifiers.
Yeah.
Yes.
AC units.
Yeah, you have to make sure that you have all the things, but we'll get into more of that kind of stuff in other podcasts. First, what we've kind of discussed as a family to go through is our last summer, but during the summer, our biggest family trip. So explaining our RV life, we are part-time on the road. We're full-time RVers, but we're part-time on the road, meaning that because Cassie is still a school teacher and these two still go to school, we have to be here during the remainder of the year, summer breaks, weekends, all that kind of stuff. We get to go adventure out. We get to go have fun. But during the week and during most of the school time, we're here. Then me and Elijah are here in the coach. Elijah is homeschooling. He started last year homeschooling his freshman year, and we're continuing on that this year. But so we are here, and that's what Cassie was saying, that me and him and Merlin have been enduring the heat inside here. But so we don't get to go out all the time. So our big trip this year was New Mexico, and that is where Cassie's from. I'll let her share on that a little bit.
My home state. So I grew up in New Mexico, and whenever I graduated, I moved to Texas, and can count on one hand when we've been back to visit. So I think Elijah and Uriah were maybe like 1 and 5.
I mean, I've only been twice.
I know.
All 15 years I've been alive.
Yeah, Kalaya had never been. This was her first time.
I wasn't even in her stomach.
I know. It was like so long ago since we had been back. So I really wanted to show the kids my home state and like the awesome things that I experienced as a young kid, being in nature and seeing all, so many different monuments and like national parks and stuff that I really took for granted growing up, living in and growing up in a very beautiful state. And so now appreciating all of the things that I did get to see and experience while I was young, I really wanted the kids to see all the things. Also, and Drew and I met in New Mexico when his family was on the road, and we met in my little town in New Mexico. And so he had some experiences of going to these same national parks and being outdoors and really enjoying those things with his family. And now to like come full circle, and now we have our kids. And
but what's funny is we haven't been back there a whole lot, but you and we had been back there before we had the kids a couple times. We never went to any of these places. We never went to the places that we're going to talk about. We never went back. I don't know why. We just didn't. Think we were caught up in each other, and we just spent time with each other and with your parents,
and
I guess.
It wasn't very long. Like, we spent an entire week and a half in New Mexico, so we didn't really have that kind of time. It was like a couple days. So
yeah, this was the opportunity to go explore and go do some of these extra things. So, but yeah, starting out on the trip, we took off. I think we got up at like 4 a.m. It's 4 o'clock in the morning, and we are about to set off on our next adventure. That's one of the great advantages of RV life is we get to, I get to get up kind of when I want to, and I get to travel early. I like to drive early, get through traffic, especially in the Dallas area. Although I remember that morning there was a lot of traffic even at like 4. I think we left at like 4:30 or maybe 5. I think it was around 4:30, but there was still a lot of traffic even at that time. So we'll have to leave earlier next time.
Dallas never sleeps.
Yeah, it just doesn't stop. There's always traffic through here. But that's one of the great advantages is I get to get up kind of on my own and get to get on the road, and everybody else, they can stay in bed because we're in a Class A. They stay in their bed, and they're safe, they're secure, they're all the things. So anybody that comments and says how dangerous that is, it's not. We've done a lot of preparation to make sure that they're safe. And I'm going way under the speed limit because I've got my family in the back. So
exactly.
Cassie, she usually gets up for a little bit with me, and then she's like, I'm going back to bed. So
you weren't supposed to mention that.
So that we started out early, and we got into we headed to Carlsbad first, Carlsbad, New Mexico, and we got there. I don't know about it was later. It was actually later in the afternoon because traffic. We took a lot of like smaller roads, and there was a lot of truck traffic and like oil rig traffic through there. So we were behind these big rigs and kind of going slow, but so that was not as fun for the trip. But once we got there, it was great. Cassie had a really cool place set up, to talk about that RV park that we were at.
Well, the only cool part was that it was like 10 minutes from the Carlsbad Cavarans.
It was pretty barren. It was on the side of the road, and
yeah, but it was like a retro type place.
Okay.
I mean,
it was cool.
It was kind of cool. I mean, it wasn't directly on the side of the highway. It was pretty close. It was close. Okay.
There was a pool there.
Yeah,
which was fun.
Yeah, there was a hotel connected to it, which we were meeting up with your parents, and your parents stayed there at the hotel, which I guess we already had access to the pool, but because they were over there, we used the pool and everything. But we were right outside the gate of the national park there, which is the Carlsbad Cavarans. So it was like perfect for us to get there, get set up. And then we didn't really do any exploring that day, did we? We went out to eat. Thought we were gonna get some really good New Mexican food,
salty.
but
Not mention
was-
that.
No. I almost threw up.
we found a restaurant. We won't name the name.
We won't
I don't
name
even know the name anymore.
I don't know either.
Don't go
Yeah,
to-
we are not picky eaters, especially traveling. We like to try local foods. We like to try a lot of things, but this restaurant, none of us
Yeah.
finished our food. It was absolutely
It was terrible.
yes, it was.
I was about to throw up.
Anyway, moving from that, we swam that night. We had a good time, but then the next day we got up and went to the Carlsbad Cavarans. And I will say, I think that was one of the coolest caverns
Yeah.
we've been to. So, something in our
My
adventures.
favorite.
It was your
my
favorite too.
It was definitely the biggest.
It was
like,
wonderful.
Something in our adventures that we've been trying to do is hit up some of the
The
caverns.
caverns.
I think
Yeah.
this might have been the first. Well, no, they're all national
Yeah.
parks, aren't they?
Yeah, there's
okay.
state parks.
No, they're national parks, not state parks.
Are they?
I don't know. Some of them may be state parks. I don't know. This one was definitely a national park, and it was a huge. Do you know the size of that one? Did you look that up?
30 miles
30 miles long.
overall.
Okay. Yeah, there was
so
like
cool.
there was several different rooms and things that we could go to, and
There was like stores down there.
Yeah, there was a restaurant and stuff,
Yeah.
and it was pretty cool.
yeah, and then the other thing that was the first for us as a family was it was unguided, so we were able to walk through the caverns. Obviously, they have a path, they have a trail that you follow along, and you're not supposed to touch the walls or anything like that. But you're not out there with a guide, so you're not being rushed. That was fun. I thought that was awesome because you're kind of going out there on your own time frame anyway. If you want to stop and look at things for a while, you can.
Take your time.
Yeah, you can take your time.
Yeah.
So, which
Mariah had fun with the audio tour guides. So
Oh yeah, I pressed all the buttons whenever I saw a number.
yeah.
do you
so-
remember any of the facts that they shared with you?
I remember like it was formed like way back then, like from the water from the top, like from the flood.
So it was formed mostly through water or from
Yes, yeah.
flooding, I guess. Okay.
Well, I remember there was one room. It happened pretty recently, but I guess like the ceiling collapsed or something, and it created like this whole big like cathedral thing. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Also, like the whole New Mexico area, like mountains, plains, hills, cliffs, all of the views whenever it comes to sunsets, aside from summer heat, it's
Wonderful.
yeah, what she
The
said.
heat wasn't even that bad though.
Yeah, well, the heat is different there because they don't have all the humidity that we have
Yeah.
here. It was close to 100 degrees some days, at least in the
90.
90s.
But 90 here and 90 over there is
It's completely
totally
different. Completely different. So, but it was really cold in the cave though. Once we got down
yes,
into the
that was
cave, it got
freezing.
pretty chilly down
And
there.
I didn't even have a jacket.
How deep
Me
does
neither.
it go? Look that up real quick, Elijah. Because it was like a long path down into the
Took, like-
final depth of the cave or whatever.
So they
3
have
hours.
the natural entrance and then they have the elevator. So you can walk down the natural entrance or you can take the elevator straight down to I think it's the king's room or something.
Yeah.
Which we took the natural.
313 meters.
Wow.
Deep?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's
Yeah, 313 meters. That was complete darkness if you had all the lights off, I'm sure. And actually, this was a pretty dark cave in general. Like, we had our phone flashlights. I had a little flashlight with me, but so some of the footage. And also on this podcast, if we put this on an audio only podcast, probably the best way is going to be to watch this on YouTube, because we're going to try to make this more of a podcast show, not just an audio, because we have so much footage that we want to share and content that gives it context to what we're talking about.
If you want to find us on YouTube, we're at Wolfpack Family Adventures. Go check it out.
Yes. And so the caverns, anything else that want to describe in the caverns?
it was wet.
Yeah. Very wet, very moist. But
So our hair was, Kalaya and I have dreads, obviously, but our hair was like spongy. It was was like so damp.
And when you got all the way down, there was this giant, like, restaurant you could eat, and by the restaurant there were the elevators that you could go in.
That you go back up, yeah. We spent probably a couple hours down there. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot to
But-
explore.
We took like 3 hours down there. There was a lot of rooms.
Yeah, and they were actually in the another part of the cavern. They were actually exploring and kind of opening up another area eventually. I mean, they were working on a whole another area of it. So it was big. So if you haven't visited the cavern or the Carlsbad Caverns, go visit them.
Gotta check
I
it
think
out.
Elijah wants to say something.
Oh, no, I was just saying, like, aside from all the rocks and stuff, I think the coolest part of the cave was,
He forgot.
yeah, I forgot.
It was so cool.
Oh, yeah, peeing down there. They had toilets and stuff. I've never peed so down far into the earth.
Why would you
13
say
meters
that?
deep.
Crazy.
Me too.
Now, he didn't just go anywhere. There was actual restrooms down.
Get kicked out.
That was
bottom of the
hilarious.
So then was it that night or the next night we went and watched the bats?
Oh,
It was that night.
It was that night?
Yeah, we
night.
came back that evening
Yeah.
because they do a bat flight, and that was super cool because
I
mean,
so many.
I think
Yeah.
the Carlsbad Caverns is known for their bat flight. And when we were there, so there's been like a really bad drought. So the bat population hasn't been as large, I guess.
Yeah, a lot of them have left that area because without water, there's less insects, there's less,
Just
I guess,
everything.
yeah,
It
just
affects
everything.
the whole habitat. And so we went there, and you cannot film, you cannot take pictures because all of the signals of the phones.
They're very
and
sensitive to
it's-
things.
It would
Yeah.
scare
Like you
them
said,
off. So
Turn your
But-
phone off.
It was
Yeah.
so cool when we saw them flying everywhere.
They
And
were
they're,
like 5 feet above your head. And
Yeah,
Yeah.
squeaky noises.
What was funny is at the beginning, right before it gets dark enough for the bats to come out, the swallows, they were called swallows, right?
The
They're
cave
like,
swallows.
yeah, the little birds. So you're watching all these little birds and you're trying to figure out, okay, are they bats or not? And then all of a sudden, when the bats come out, like you can just tell the difference. They
Yeah.
fly completely different. They actually make kind of a noise, like especially the fluttering noise. So it's just cool to see all of a sudden the change
That's a
of
crow.
the creature in the air. The swallows disappeared and the bats came out, and then all the insects disappeared too because they were eating them all.
yeah.
So we stayed out there as long as we could see them. It got dark and can't see them anymore. So that was Carlsbad. Then we went from there to
the White Sands.
White sands.
the
Which
White
is
Sands was awesome.
awesome.
You like the White Sands?
But it was so hot out there. I was a flaming hot Cheeto.
Flaming hot Cheeto.
Yeah, so we actually had to leave for a little bit of time because we did not bring enough water. And if you ever go, they tell you, like, all of the rangers are like, make sure you have water because I kid you not, this sand is different.
It is.
It's actually gypsum mineral, which is a rock that comes from the mountains right there out of Alamogordo. And so the dust and the wind is so bad in this valley. So what happens is the wind and the elements below the gypsum, the rocks, and it's very crumbly. So as it rolls and blows, it will start crumbling to a fine sand. And so that's how the white sands actually were formed, is just this kind of dust pile, if you will, like if you were sweeping,
Yeah,
your
there's still
kitchen or something.
bigger flakes
It's
or
like crystals.
Yeah.
little
Like crystal.
Yeah,
Middle of
and then
Crumble
you
up
can
in
touch them and they just
crystals.
brittle apart,
Yeah.
and that's all the whole thing. But they're dunes, so they continue to roll. So when we go back there next time, the dunes are going to be completely different places. Like it just changes. In fact, there was one part that we were walking. We walked. I think it was like along maybe 2 or 3 dunes past where we were parked, and we were up there sledding. We were having a good time. It was a pretty high peak, so everybody was like sledding down pretty. That was the point that I feel like we were able to sled the most. But there was coming back. It was like all of a sudden our tracks were gone because they had gotten all the
sand.
The sand had just covered our tracks. So if you didn't have like a good sense of direction, you could easily get lost out there. In fact, we kind of started veering off in a little bit of the wrong way, and we had let him off the leash, and he was like heading up the way that we should have been going. He knew exactly where, and we were headed a little bit in the
his scent.
Yeah, he smelled his scent. So Merlin saved the day on that. If you don't know who Merlin is, if you're watching for the first time, he is our wolf dog, and he goes everywhere with us. So
we would have died if we didn't have him.
If we didn't have him,
we would have. We probably still would have been lost in the white sands.
It's strange too, because you wouldn't think that you would dry up so fast.
Yeah.
Because it just happens so fast. All of a sudden you'll be drinking some water and then you're a raisin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's so. As to what Cassie was saying, we brought water out there, but it wasn't near enough. I mean, we had to have like a whole case because as you're out there, that sand is blowing towards you, and it's drying you out the entire time. So it's not even just the heat and the sun and everything else. It's also that sand on you. It's like pulling moisture out. It feels like. I mean, we were dry. Our skin was dry for a couple days afterwards.
My nose piercing got infected. Like, I had a keloid because that sand is so fine. And we had sand everywhere. It was crazy.
All in my hair.
Sharp too.
Even in my pockets.
There's at least 1 grain of sand still in my bed.
So it was a fun time, though. I mean, they're beautiful out there. It's where you get some of the cool Instagram photos and all that. We didn't take a lot of time. We took a few cool photos, which we're going to be showing along this podcast. But that wasn't our priority to get out there and just take the coolest Instagram photos, I guess. But it is a really cool spot to do that, and a lot of people were out there taking photos and everything.
Many photographers out there.
And then we stayed out there and we watched the sunset and all of that. But
the sunset was so beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about some of the sledding adventures on there.
Oh yeah. So I sledded like a lot.
Me too.
So it's just like snow sledding, but you have sand. It's not cold, yeah.
When we were leaving, so all 3 of us sledded down. Me and Uriah went the right way. Well, Elijah, he flipped over when he was sledding down.
I think
it was hilarious.
That
too. Yeah, there is.
Yeah, it's a little different than sledding on snow because snow is wet, ice, and everything else. It's cold too, yes, but you don't sled. There's friction with sand.
It's a little bit different.
It's a little different. So even though the hills were steep, it was like, and we put wax on there and everything, but it was a little different.
It only does so much.
Yeah.
I tried. I was a little too heavy on it, I think.
Oh, remember that steep, like that big dune that I went down? I went so fast, but it was so long.
Uriah had the aerodynamics going for him. He was like,
very, very steep.
He was zooming.
Yeah, he figured it out.
I was struggling so much trying to get up the hill. But I just slid down on my butt.
Yeah, just going up the hills because you're in sand. I mean, it's not like hiking.
Sinking.
Yeah, it's not like hiking on rock and stuff, but you're sinking in the sand the whole time. So we were exhausted.
Like quicksand.
Mm-hmm.
It was. There was some parts. It was kind of like you just felt like you were gonna sink into it.
I kind of actually did the big sand pits. I kind of did sink in.
Yeah, it wore us out though. By the end, I mean, Merlin was just napping, like he was out.
Yeah.
The next day we were we were going somewhere.
In the mic.
And Merlin was running away from the leash. He didn't want to leave. He was so tired.
He was, Merlin, after a bit, didn't want to get up and go on all our adventures because we worn him out so much. But Elijah reminded us of something earlier about some of the insects and creatures out there.
Yeah. So a long time ago, like you would have like regular foxes with like the red fur and everything, but with time of being out there, they would adapt to the sand and be able to hide more because their fur would like turn like
White.
a little whitish color, but like all of the insects turned white. Like it's pretty cool. It's
Yeah,
like
the animals.
lizards.
Yeah,
and
we
just
saw a
everything.
lizard.
The wolves.
I saw the lizard like in the grass, but it was hiding in the sand, and I could barely see it because it was like all white.
Oh, camouflage.
Yeah.
But when it started to move, I could actually like see it, and we could all see it.
So moving on from White Sands, we then went to Cassie's hometown area,
Yeah.
but it was quite an adventure getting just to there.
We took the scenic route.
We did. We took the
Well,
scenic route.
maps took us through the scenic route.
So we went through some mountains, and it wasn't terrible, but it was my first experience driving this big of a vehicle.
Rig. Yeah.
I mean, we're quite heavy, and we're like 40 feet long, so we're like a bus. So there's some weight to it when you're going down a mountain, down a steep hill. In fact, the whole way to this town called Cloudcroft, which is where the peak of the mountain was.
So I have to take it back because
Okay.
Cloudcroft is before Alamogordo, where we were at the White Sands. So this was before we made it to the White Sands. This was coming from Carlsbad to the White Sands.
You're right. Sorry. Okay. I've mixed up on that. So let's talk about our adventure, though, going through
Going
Cloudcroft.
through, yeah.
Because that was quite an adventure, at least for me. So if you've experienced driving this big of a rig, and I mean, truck drivers do it all the time, I get it, but we are not doing this on the daily. I'm not a professional driver in that sense. So it was my first experience, with those steeps of climbs and stuff. But we made it. We made it through. It just felt like when you're in this tall of a vehicle too, it's not just the size, like the length of this vehicle, but you're up tall, and the higher you are on something, the smaller whatever it is down below you looks, right? It's perspective. So when you're sitting up on a high pedestal, basically,
Yeah.
the lanes of the road look very tiny. So they, which I've learned to drive. I learned kind of, my boundary with it, right? But when you're up on top of a mountain, it just looks like you're just on a straight down drop, just
cliff.
like right away.
Yeah.
So in order to kind of save on engine and even the scare of everything, we unhooked the flat tow, which is my Gladiator Jeep, and we unhooked that. Cassie drove that behind the rig, so it was just us as a family in there, or me and the three kids. We were the ones in here, and then we got stopped, and you couldn't see what was going on.
I had no clue.
And we're driving through
What
the
was
mountains,
going
and all of a sudden we come through a tunnel or go up to a tunnel area, and the traffic just stops probably for 30 minutes or
And
so.
we had no cell phone service. So
Yeah.
that was the thing. Like, I couldn't even call Drew. And he was only 40 feet in front of me.
No cell phone service, and so Cassie had no clue what was going on in front. We're just
couldn't
sitting
see.
there. And I didn't want to get out and go tell her, because I'm thinking as soon as I get out, like traffic's going to start up, and here I am, trying to run back to the coach
Yeah.
and get going again. But we made it through all that. It was an event, first adventure going through the mountains like that. We did not come back through that way. In fact, we avoided that
avoided
way
it.
as much as we could.
Yeah.
So that was on our trip to White Sands. Going to Cassie's hometown, now that was a little bit
A
better.
little more scenic, but it still wasn't the straight highway that I am used to going. whenever I grew up, you know, it was like, okay, Alamogordo, Las Cruces, and then we're home, you know. So this was kind of the detour route, which took us through Hatch, New Mexico, home of the green chili. Yes. So it was really cool.
It was good. It was good. So we got into Cassie's hometown area, and what was the first thing we did? We
stayed at this really nice RV park. It was super quaint, very like rustic, like old cowboy style. It was just a really cool vibe of an RV park. And so we got settled in to our spot, and then just started to, you know, plan our time there because it was so much to see. I wanted to show the kids like everything that I had done growing up. And so I think our first stop is, which is my favorite place, is the catwalk. Like hands down, I think I could say this was our favorite spot.
Yeah, it was fun going on the side of a cliff.
We were in the cliff.
Yeah,
In the canyon,
cliff.
right?
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the catwalk is like a canyon type area. I guess that's what it is, right? It's
Yeah.
just like a canyon creek.
And I made a big mistake.
What was that?
What do you mean?
Well, I put on my Crocs and with my socks. And there's like a bunch of lace.
So your socks got wet.
I have socks on.
Oh, yeah, you might want to take those off.
Nope. I don't care if my socks get wet.
You don't care?
Oh, it's cold. I don't care. I have socks on and my socks are freezing cold.
Yeah, so
That's
let's
crazy.
explain the catwalk a little bit. Catwalk area is, they used to have like rope bridges going through there, and it was a little more, I don't know, not natural, but what do you call that?
Adventurous.
Primitive, I guess. Now they have put like, I mean, it's very well built now. In fact, Merlin, he didn't want to go across. It's like a graded metal mesh that you walk across now, and it's very secure. Like, you know, you don't even feel like anything's wrong. But Merlin, because he could see the bottom, he could see the drop down, he got a little nervous with that. Yeah, he was kind of freaking out. But once he was on there and we moved on, he had no problem with it the rest of the time. But the catwalk area, do you have info on that?
Yeah, so the catwalk began with the discovery of gold and silver in the rugged Mogollon Mountains above Whitewater Canyon. So there was this little town, and they would have a mill that would, like, you know, as they're like trying to like pan or whatever up the canyon, there was like a little bridge system that they created, and it was literally attached to the side of the canyon.
You can still see it though too, right? Like,
Yeah.
they still have them up there.
Yeah, it's
obviously you can't go over there, but they'll have like
super
ropes
cool.
and stuff.
Yeah, so they've just now like redone everything, and even while we were there, they were redoing some of the pathways because a couple years back there was a really bad fire that, because whenever I was growing up, we were able to go all the way to the top, and it was just so cool. A lot, like, I think we only traveled like halfway through the path that I used to take.
Yeah.
So we couldn't go very far.
I
this time
remember.
around.
I mean, of course, I was actually Elijah's age when I was there the first time when me and Cassie met.
Yeah.
But I remember it being a lot further
Mm-hmm.
along. In fact, that was kind of confirmed. We actually went out to the catwalk twice. We went one day just by ourselves and Cassie's parents as well. And then the second time we went out with some friends, and they confirmed too, yeah, it used to be, you used to be able to go a lot further. But we kind of got up to an area that they had blocked everything off, and everything
Yeah.
was unsafe. And
Yeah, some of the storms or whatever had destroyed some of the path and the
And-
ironwork and stuff.
And there was like somebody said that there could be boulders coming down the cliffs.
Mm-hmm.
But there was no boulders coming down the cliffs while we were there. We had a really
Thankfully.
great time. So this is a national park as well. So you can, there is a path that you can stay on, or you can go down into the creek. You can climb the boulders and
Explore.
everything, which is what we did. This was kind of one of our first times. We've done it not in a non-fenced in area, but Merlin, he's almost 7 years old now. So he's, we've been told that he could live to almost about 20 years old. We don't know if that's true or not, but he's 7. So, he's not even middle-aged yet, right? So he's still got a lot of spunk, a lot of energy, but in 7 years, he's matured a lot. When we first got him, he was an escape artist. He would run away as soon as he got the chance. Not that he didn't want to be with us. It was just...
He was young.
He's just an explorer. He just wants to go run and be free and all that. So this was like one of our first times of actually letting him off the leash. And we did, like, I know you're supposed to have animals on a leash and everything, which there was no one near us. If someone came, we would leash him up or whatever. But I let him off the leash because I felt like it was starting to be a hazard to him, because he's trying to climb these boulders and he's a really, really good climber. We've seen it in other areas. We went to Glen Rose State Park and he climbed some great things there, but this is the first time he was climbing boulders. And this guy, like, he gets his claws up and he was like scaling the walls and everything.
He's like
Like,
jumping.
just
He's
scaling.
doing
And I couldn't-
parkour.
I
That
couldn't
was
keep up with
insane.
him. Like, if I was down lower, like, it was starting to pull on him, and I didn't want to be choking him, so I just let him off the leash to just go. And he did incredible. He would run around the boulder. In fact, he didn't want us separated at all. If we had gone different directions or whatever, he was upset by that. There was one time I remember our friends that went with us, they went around another side of the boulder, and he wasn't having it. He ran around that boulder. He went and got them and corralled them back and wanted them to come back
Yeah, he
towards
wanted
us.
everyone together.
Yeah, so this is a really cool place just to adventure. There's little, small waterfalls and things. We took photos and, did
The
all the
water
stuff.
was so cold.
was
Oh my
freezing.
gosh. It
Yeah.
felt good though, because you'd be hiking and you'd be so tired. And then you get into that water and it was just like, it like shocked your system. Like, oh my gosh. But yeah, it was so nice.
Yeah, the one waterfall where we kind of all took turns taking photos.
It looks like we're enjoying it, but we're literally like, hurry up and take the picture.
It was one of those Instagram versus reality
Yeah.
things. Yeah.
It wasn't that bad after a while.
After you went numb,
I know.
you couldn't
It
feel
did feel good,
anything.
though.
Yeah, the water got kind of deep too. And Merlin wasn't about to get in there. He's like, nope.
It was so
Cold.
cold. And,
Nope.
He wasn't having it.
One of the pictures, like, all of you three, not Kalaya, but all of you guys went like in the waterfall. I didn't want to go in because it was like way too cold, but I went like as far as I could go.
Yeah.
I went in the water, but not where you guys were.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
your feet and ankles.
There was one
Yeah.
time that me and Elijah and Merlin, we went off into an area and we started, climbing some boulders that you guys weren't sure if you
Yeah.
guys could make. And so we went off into this area, and I don't know, it was kind of down. Merlin had jumped off this boulder and into a sand pit, really. And this guy just started, I don't know what, I guess it was cool sand, like, because it was shaded area. And he just started rolling around and just, making a
older.
It was
mess.
atrocious.
Making a mess out of himself. He
He was having fun.
He was having fun.
Yeah.
He was having fun. And yeah,
His nose was covered with sand and dirt.
it was.
He was a mess.
It was. So yeah, I think as a family, that was our
The highlight.
place to go. It will definitely be a place that when we go back to that area, that we will definitely make it a priority to go to the catwalks. Anything else you want to share in that area?
But
Well, I think
Yeah.
Elijah wanted to live there. I
That
think
was-
he
Oh, yeah,
mentioned
pretty
that.
much.
That
I
was
mean,
so
there's a couple
fun.
caves I could have just
when I
sat
heard
down
you
and-
say, let's leave, I was like, no.
No.
Because me and Uriah were, like, when we were done, we went to this area where there was, like, a big lake with
Yeah.
a bunch of tadpoles.
Tadpoles,
so
yeah,
we were
you
going
did-
Yeah,
tadpole
we went-
fishing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were catching all kinds of tadpoles out there.
Yeah, it
y'all
was so
were-
fun.
Y'all were quite the adventure trailblazers.
Yeah.
Y'all
And-
were
so
helping
then
us
you
lead the way.
joined. you joined me and him.
And you know, one of the highlights of getting to do RV life, this kind of lifestyle, we're in different kind of elements all the time. You know, we've been in Texas area for a while, all of our married life. So the kids have been here, and we've kind of all been in the same terrain. We would take vacations or whatever, but not to the extent of what we're doing now, and allowing them to get out and explore some things. So I would say our kids have been pretty city life for a while. Not like downtown city, but they've been pretty much city kids playing video games and things like that. So to get out and see them doing these adventurous type things, I know there's some kids, they do that all the time. Like they're just outside all the time. But our kids, you know, up until recently, we haven't had those opportunities because there just hasn't been good areas to go do that. It's extremely hot here in Texas in the summer. It's just not even fun to be outside. Sometimes it's not even safe to be outside for a long time.
No.
But, you know, going into these environments, like this is so cool to be able to allow the kids, like, hey, yeah, go tadpole fishing, you know.
And I don't even know like how those tadpoles got there. They were just like there.
They're probably first born. Like, we didn't want to hurt them, so we didn't go in the water, but we were catching them and putting them back in.
So, Elijah, you mentioned caves. Tell us about some of the caves out there. Yeah. You're talking about some of the caves that you had found, some of the...
Yeah, like, they were mostly filled with water. Like,
Yeah.
I'm assuming because the
From the
water
creek.
usually gets, like, really, really high out there. But we just came at a time where it was just really dry and all the water just kind of went away.
Yeah.
But there was one cave where it was, like, halfway filled with water, but you can, like, wade in there. It was really cold, but...
yeah. Because it was in like a shaded area.
Yeah, but it was just, it felt like a little home for somebody. Like, it was wet, obviously, but it was pretty cool. Didn't want to go too
It's,
far
like,
in there. 'Cause,
sheltered
yeah,
and-
sheltered. And,
Yeah. So anything else on the catwalks?
No.
All right. Well,
Wait.
okay.
So I met a new friend there. I'm not gonna say his name, but like I met a new friend there. Me and him like named the areas. We named one of them Uriah, and his name's Rock.
Oh, cool.
And we like climbed it all the time when we were there.
Cool.
Yeah.
Y'all had so much fun.
Yeah.
I loved climbing the rocks there.
Yeah.
Uriah is a really good climber too.
He is.
He definitely, you know, showed his climbing abilities out there. It was good. So another area we went to is
The Gila Cliff Dwellings
the
was
cliff
the
dwellings.
next place
Oh
that
yeah,
we went to.
it was when we got to the top. It looked very dangerous.
Well, let's
Can you-
explain what the cliff
you
dwellings
tell-
are.
Yeah.
Can you tell about like who lived there? Do you know?
So, who lived there were like people in the past, like ancestors and stuff. Like,
Mm-hmm. The Mogollon people,
Yeah,
the Mogollon
yeah,
culture.
that's what they were named. Yeah.
They lived there for about 1 to 2 generations. They didn't stay there because it was at a time of like unrest, and so it was like a lookout point. These were nomadic people, so they, called the cliffs their homes. They had, walls built. Like it's pretty cool, like little lookout. And at the time, it wasn't up high on a cliff. So they were like describing at the time, like the plane was at the level of the cave, and then erosion took place and just eroded a valley. So it was like way up high.
But obviously, it's not a modern home. But I would live there.
I know,
For
right?
like
I mean, it was
for
pretty
like a
well
night.
built.
Well,
Yeah,
it was
it
modern
was.
for the time.
Yeah.
I mean, that was modern then. They were actually really cool built homes. I mean, they
Yes,
were
they made
About
a-
7 caves. So there was different rooms that you would go into, and you could see down into them.
like Cassie said, it was kind of weird because our perspective being up there was super high, and it was there was a couple spots that it was a little sketchy. Not, I mean, it wasn't unsafe, but when you're out there with kids, and when you don't do this all the time,
Yeah.
Scary,
when you're out there with kids, and you're trying to make sure that their footing is good and all that. It was just a little nerve wracking, but it was.
Sketchy.
But so, like Cassie said, at that time they believe that erosion has caused that
Even
height
further.
now, but apparently it was like they walked out the front door and it was just flat land. It wasn't what we see it as today. So just that understanding was very interesting, because you're just thinking, okay, why did they come all the way up here? But they didn't. It was right
Right
there.
there.
On the land. So yeah, I mean, these houses, it was like you went up inside kind of a cave type area.
They had built walls, and they were showing like some of the technology of like the cornerstone, how they had like the cap, capped off to
And-
make little archways.
And
so that was pretty.
The corn you were talking about,
Mhm.
there used to be like a lot of corn there that they had stored,
Mhm.
but apparently some
People stole it.
yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
were told that there was an area that it was just like, I mean, tons of corn just piled up, and however it was preserved, I'm not sure like why the corn didn't just evaporate or whatever over time. But now apparently we've been told that a lot of people were stealing the corn, and so there's actually like literally just only
a
a few
couple,
pieces
yeah.
of corn left.
We after like before we did this podcast, we looked over like the videos, and like back seeing like the footage, there was like no corn in there.
I know.
Also, those ladders did the people who are like owning the is it a national park or is it like
Yeah.
It's a national.
yeah, the people that are owning that park, did they put those ladders there, or did
Well, there was some modern ladders now that you climbed up to look over into the
And
rooms.
see the
I don't
corn.
believe those were original
Yeah,
ladders.
yeah.
but
I didn't think it was
So
even-
someone has made
I
it
don't
to
know.
where you can go and not
Yeah.
explore, like you can only go to certain points of those
And look
dwellings.
you
down.
but-
can't go in the room.
Yeah,
Only
but
some rooms.
But it's a very cool area. A lot of hiking through there. It was very hot that day. It was actually
yes, it was miserable.
no water really
There's
out
a
there.
rock in my shoe.
We had to stop so you could get the rock out of your shoe.
Yeah.
It was hurting my
Stupid,
foot.
'cause I don't think they let you bring
Yeah.
any water or anything.
Yeah, they.
Oh, they
don't
let you bring water, but you couldn't bring anything
you
else.
couldn't-
No
you couldn't-
juice,
you
no.
couldn't
Bring
eat
any food.
Yeah, no food or anything, because they don't want rodents. They don't want animals in that area disrupting. Kind of, they're trying to preserve it as much as possible. But yeah, I mean, it was just a cool time. So moving on from there, we went to actually,
Rocks.
whenever we left there though, we had to go through valleys. We had to go through quite a mountainous area through there, and
Yeah,
we
there was
flat towed the Jeep Gladiator. And so we were able to kind of take off into some areas, some little small trails. They weren't like super crazy trails, but we were able to use the Gladiator a little bit for what it's made for.
Yeah.
And
The off-roading a little
yeah,
bit.
just a little bit of off-roading. So that was fun to do. And we adventured out. But the problem that we ran into, because it was so hot that day, at the beginning of the day, it wasn't hot. We had taken the tops off of the top of the Gladiator. Well, there was a bag of trash that we didn't realize that was in the back of the truck. Elijah had put it back there, and then I forgot. Now I didn't put it in the dumpster. So while we were there, the birds had gotten into the trash.
I didn't know about this.
Yeah, they had gotten into the trash. So because I had the tops off and I had put them in the back of the truck too, I had to put the tops of the Jeep on top of that trash because there was nowhere to dump that trash. There was no dumpsters out there. You had to take the trash with you.
dumpsters, but I think they were completely full or something.
No, there was no dumpsters. They wouldn't let us take.
Okay.
We had to take any trash. There wasn't any trash available. In fact,
Gotcha,
your
yeah.
your dad got in trouble because he asked them to take a can, and the lady was like, "No, you can take." She was actually very rude about it, but whatever. So I had the tops of the Jeep on top of the trash, just holding that down so we could get back down out of the mountain and everything.
And it wouldn't fly everywhere.
Yeah, so it wouldn't fly everywhere. Well, the problem with that is the sun was now just beating down on us the entire trip. So that was kind of miserable. Jeeps are fun, but not in the deep sun like that.
No.
So anyway, we moved on from there, and then we went to the City of Rocks. City of Rocks is a super cool place, and let's backtrack a little bit to when we were 15 to 16 years old when we first met. That was one area that you and I went to. I think we were out there with your youth group, right, from your church, and we went out there and we had a good time.
We found the exact same rock that we kind of hiked up to while we were out just exploring and playing tag or whatever. Daddy and I climbed up there together.
Aww.
I know. So
How
we had a picture
romantic.
moment.
How romantic. Yeah, so City of Rocks is really cool area. It's a little bit dangerous. You got to watch out for rattlesnakes. There's a lot of rattlesnakes out there.
Oh yeah.
Found a little cave. Got to be careful with rattlesnakes in here because there's rattlesnakes everywhere in this park. But it's a cool little hideout area. Merlin was in here a second ago getting shade. Do what?
Heard someone over there.
Did you?
Yeah,
We didn't see any, but we did hear some.
I heard one. So we were walking. I was like ahead of everyone, and I heard like a rattle. It was like a rattlesnake.
that specific sound that you
Sounds
just
like a water
know.
sprinkler.
Yeah. And I was like, let's not go over there. I heard something that sounds like a rattlesnake.
Remember, speak in the mic.
But yeah, the City of Rocks, it's an area that supposedly, and I don't know how they know it exactly, but it was an area where a volcano had exploded, and I guess however the formations and water came through and everything else, all these rocks have stayed in one place. It's a really cool sight to see. I think the highest point is like maybe 40 feet.
40 feet.
So it's not like super tall, but you think about that. I mean,
These
if we were to
huge
flip this
boulders,
bus
yeah.
on its, on the back end, that's how high. That would be a high place up there.
Yes.
I actually found one of the highest spots
tallest
because you could
boulders.
see. I mean, I was looking out over almost the whole park out there, and it was
It's crazy because there's just flat land as far as you can see, and then you just see these. It literally looks like a city
It looks
with
so out of
all
place.
of
I
these
mean,
boulders.
so weird.
yeah. You can kind of get disoriented in there too.
You can.
Because when you're in the middle of it, it's all these rocks all around it. There's not one trail. It's just trails everywhere. You headed back to the truck to grab something.
Yeah.
And
I think I don't even know what I was getting, but kind of got a little sidetracked. I was like, okay. So we are out here at the City of Rocks in New Mexico, and I grew up coming out here all the time, but it's just really awesome to bring my family out here. But literally it's like a bunch of boulders in the middle of the desert. So cool. Let's see if I can find them. Can get lost out here. Found them. There they are.
there you are. Did you get lost?
No. I got the sun on my back. I know my directions.
Okay. They're coming to rescue you.
I know. I just need to know they're in this general direction.
I mean, there are roads, around that area. So as long as you can get up on something, you can see where the road is.
Yeah.
You could trail down into that area. I guess you wouldn't get lost out there necessarily, but it is a little turn. You get it turned around easy.
And it's so hot, so you need to be in the shade. You need water. So if you're out there,
But it's a
without
cool
it,
area because you can just climb on everything. Like there's no
Yeah.
rules again. You know, a lot of times you can't climb on certain things or whatever. Like you can just climb as much as you can climb. You can climb on all this stuff.
Also, if you're like a good rock climber, there's some big boulders that you can climb on.
Like Daddy.
I did climb some pretty high spots. Elijah did too.
I tried.
I-
I needed help.
I had
I
the
couldn't do it
messed up
easily.
arm from the ADCC Open in
Yeah.
June, so had to be careful with that.
Yeah. And that's stuff that we're gonna add onto this podcast too. Is we do jiu-jitsu as a family, and Elijah competes a lot more. We all compete, but he does a lot of pro fights and things like that. And so we want to get on here and we want to talk about those kind of things. The whole reason of doing this podcast is just to talk about what's going on in our life. It's not just RV life. It's not just the trips. It's not just it's us sitting down as a family and you're getting to be a part of our family conversation. It's kind of a recap of things going on in life. So jiu-jitsu is definitely a part of our life. We train almost every single night. Elijah competes a lot. Cassie does. I do. The little ones, they've taken a little bit of a break. They're getting back into it a little bit here and there, but as a family as a whole, like that's important to us. So that's just a little side note. But we were talking about City of Rocks and all the climbing, and I think did we share everything with that? Yeah, is there anything else that you wanted to share? Okay. So we left the Cassie's hometown area, and we kind of took our time getting back to the Dallas area, and we took a little detour and we headed up to, where do we head, Uriah?
We headed up to Roswell.
To Roswell.
When we got there, we saw like alien light posts.
And we knew we were in the right place.
Yeah, they were like everywhere. It was all like alien themed.
Everything was alien
There was
themed.
like alien graffiti everywhere, and there was like
The aliens did graffiti.
So
What?
we don't eat fast food, like even though we travel and
No, we
everything
don't.
else, we don't eat fast food. When we're out on the road, we fill our refrigerator and we cook in here a lot of times. We'll eat at restaurants and things, but we just don't do a lot of fast food.
Yeah.
Kalaya, I don't think had ever even eaten a McDonald's at all.
I don't
Entered
even-
a McDonald's.
I don't even think
I've been
they
like
have.
twice.
So this is
Not with us.
and maybe we shouldn't even share names, I don't know, but the reason I'm sharing the McDonald's name is there's a really cool McDonald's in Roswell.
It's a UFO.
It is. It's UFO. So we went and we had
So cool.
McFlurries there.
There was a big playground.
It was so
Yeah,
cool.
so the playground, the whole dome, it was like a dome inside, but it was a UFO spaceship. So you want to tell them about that?
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
We went, we got what we ordered. We ate some, then
We had a really good time.
yeah.
Go ahead.
Then we started playing, and Uriah was for some reason running away from me when I was trying to ask him something. I was saying, "Wait up," because I wanted to do something with him, and he kept on running away.
Maybe
so-
he was being hypnotized by the aliens.
Yeah.
You think?
And there was this giant purple slide that Uriah went on. He was like, ew.
So let's tell them about the museum we went to.
So Roswell is the second largest research center for UPA. Did I say it right?
UAP.
Area 51.
UAP.
UAP, UFOs, whatever.
I was on a roll, man.
All right, we're about to
All
get
right.
deep on this one now, I guess.
Okay,
We're
so
bringing up UAPs.
the number one research center is the Vatican. So we're in prime location for like all things aliens.
It was a lot of really cool stuff. Uriah, want to share some of the stuff that was in there?
Yeah, so there was this room where this investigator talked about what they saw when they were investigating, like the UAPs, the UFOs, whatever you want to call it, and the aliens, and like what they were experiencing. And on the walls there were like pictures of material pieces of like UFOs, if it was UFOs, we don't know for sure, but
They
yeah,
gave a
that's
pretty believable story.
Yeah.
So it was
The
really
whole
awesome.
thing was pretty legit. Like they had like different documents, different like little video recordings, and like just everything you could know about aliens. Really, I think staff there were maybe some aliens. It was pretty weird.
You felt like you went into the Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
It
like-
did. Yeah, it did.
Merlin was kind of acting up a little bit towards
He
some of
was
the staff.
staring
Like
at them.
this one really pale lady. she was. she
Maybe
was
don't
too
mention
she was too pale for
For
to be
human.
to be human. And
She was a gray.
yeah, great. She wasn't hiding it very well, but yeah, Merlin was just staring at this one lady in the library for like a couple minutes, just kind of in a trance. Really, it was pretty weird.
They were telecommunicating.
They were both
They were
staring at
talking.
each other,
They were talking.
actually.
Yeah,
So it was interesting.
Pretty
Very
odd.
interesting. Not trying not to read into it too far. But hey, I mean,
We could have had a close encounter. That's what we're saying.
especially
Yeah.
with everything going on right now in the world, which was really cool timing for us to go to Roswell because all these UAP sightings and all this stuff going
being
on.
revealed and
Yeah.
pretty cool.
And me and Uriah, we have a bond with that
yeah.
we've been watching.
There's a series called Secret of Skinwalker Ranch that we watched. Like we watched like the whole.
I was like, are y'all still watching this? Like that
No,
was
no.
their thing.
Cassie gets annoyed by that stuff, but
You always hear it like Area 51 and Roswell, like from other people, but when you actually go there, there's just so much like evidence that says like, how can it not be? Like, what is all this?
Yeah.
there's something.
There's something. There's something.
Yeah.
Either the
Either yeah
government is hiding something or whatever. But
Yeah.
or aliens.
Or
Yeah.
aliens.
Aliens.
They're just
But
aliens.
we had a really great time in Roswell. I mean, we took the kids to the movies. We ate at an awesome pizza place. Like it was
We
a
got
very
to play a laser tag at this fun laser tag place.
yeah. That
That's
was so
right.
cool.
I forgot about that, Kalaya. That was a really
job,
cool
baby.
place. It was a good like photo op area. They had all these aliens around and stuff and black
Black
lights. And
light.
Yeah, we had to shoot the aliens.
Yeah.
that was fun.
Yeah.
And
That was
the
good.
cows that were flying.
The flying cows.
Oh yeah. I don't know where that came from. Flying cows, like
I don't know.
I don't know.
UFOs capturing cows.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So this was fun. It was a good conversation.
Yeah.
Like I said, these podcasts, I think we're gonna try to do these at least once a month. As we get more used to it, maybe we'll put more out. But share in the comments how you like this. We're gonna try to break some of these segments down, maybe, and make them into shorter videos. But I think we're about an hour long on this one, which I think will probably be pretty common to our conversation. And we want to try to discuss, again, things like jiu-jitsu and our family
RV
trips
life,
and RV
yeah.
life, all that kind of stuff. If you have questions, send us those questions. We're going to talk about some of those topics that we get asked a lot. There's certain questions that we get asked all the time. We've done this as a family for a year or so, or
Yeah.
a little more than a
A
year.
little more than a year.
But I grew up in RV life. My family, we traveled a lot as a family in a fifth wheel. And so I had an idea of what was to be expected with this. Cassie and the kids, they didn't. And so I'm kind of bringing them in along with that. Now, it had been a long time since I had done RV life, but so there's a lot that I've had to learn since then. But
Doing it yourself.
Yeah,
and
doing it
being
myself,
the
too.
Patriarch of our family. And
I'm taking care of all the things that have to be taken care of. So, anything else you guys want to add?
Oh, really?
It was fun.
It was fun. We do it again.
Yeah.
It was fun,
Yes.
definitely.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
the movie that we watched was so cool.
What was the movie in Roswell you're talking about?
Yeah.
What did we watch there?
We watched like Transformers, the new Transformers.
That's right. We watched the
movie.
new Transformers. It was a good movie.
it was really good.
It was.
Seriously.
It's okay. It's okay.
I was.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for joining in with us, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't.
And the podcast.
The podcast, our
The new
Instagram, Wolfpack Family Adventures, and all the things.
Tell
So,
your friends.
And And subscribe.
And subscribe.
All right.
All right, guys. We'll see you on the next one.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.